This apartment is sort of my dream come true. It's an outer manifestation of the inner machinations of my brain. Sort of like a turn-of-the-century Parisian atelier, a steampunk salon, a bohemian hangout, or post-apocalyptic garage sale chic smorgasbord of everything.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello.
Like and subscribe for more.
Hi, I'm Nicho. Welcome to Gramercy Park. Come on in, let me show you around. I'm Nicholas Lowry, and I'm the president and principal auctioneer of Swann Galleries here in New York City. Some of you may recognize me from the PBS television series The Antiques Roadshow. I've been an appraiser on that show for 24 seasons now. And I am also a Class 2 hoarder. And welcome to my happy home where that is as evident as it could ever possibly be. Some people think it looks like Sherlock Holmes' study. Could not be more flattered to hear that. Some people think it looks like a Victorian men's club. Couldn't be happier to hear that. So I'm not sure I can actually put my finger on what my inspirations are, but like the Supreme Court definition of pornography, I know it when I see it. The architecture of this room is turn-of-the-century American Gothic. We're standing in a room that's 27 feet high to the peak of the cathedral ceiling. I have gargoyles, which is fantastic.
There's a lot of stuff in this apartment.
Yeah, people have told me that. You know, in my opinion, there's room for a lot more. Everybody from family to friends have told me that this apartment is really full. But I kind of like it that way. I'm a maximalist, and the idea of living in sort of a small white box with blank walls, I don't know if I want to use a word as strong as abhorrent, but it's not an idea that's particularly pleasant for me. Everything in this apartment is sort of set up as a little tableau, almost like a diorama. And I hated dioramas when I was in school, but I seem to have grown into it as an adult, or quote-unquote adult. I like to set little stages, I guess, but in fact I don't really set them so much as just put things together. And this particular countertop here, this particular bookshelf top, is the Hall of Busts, the Hall of Great Men and Women, with a few other things thrown in. We see Abraham Lincoln, we see members of Czech nobility from the 19th century, we see composers, Napoleon, Beethoven, Elvis Presley, even the Colonel from Kentucky Fried Chicken is there, statues from Greek mythology, and I can't explain it, but there's something about this association of busts that I find very appealing and I think actually belongs here. But not just busts. I do have something here that I'm very, very pleased about. I think everybody knows Russian dolls. This was actually a birthday gift to me many years ago. And this is a series of Russian dolls of me in different outfits based on photographs that they had found on the internet, each one in a different suit. And I just thought it was the most creative and wonderful gift. I was very, very happy about that. This is actually a cake stand or a pastry stand from a food supply store, but I thought it would be a great way to put little tchotchkes. One of my collections is small sort of souvenir buildings.
Is that the Michelin Man?
Where?
You don't even know.
Oh, he is the Michelin Man. Yes, he's in the back. Sorry, the Michelin Man is right there. And he's facing the wall. He's not even looking out. He's not even, bend him. He's not even looking out. I say hello. There he is. Look, he's so happy to see you. You also will see, as we go around, probably a small robot theme. I have a little robot fetish as well, which I don't know where that comes from, but why deny one's fetish?
How does one clean this apartment?
Yes, this is a difficult question. One should become an investor in Swiffer, perhaps, because dusting is a problem. I do have someone who comes in and helps me clean. I cannot tell a lie. As a Class 2 hoarder, and that's a classification I've given to myself, I'm someone who suffers from clutter-itis. Where I live is never dirty. It may be cluttered, it may be a little messy, but it's never dirty. As much as I love this apartment, one of its shortcomings is there is not great space to hang things. The walls are adorned with this fabulous yellow brocade fabric, and I could certainly hang posters there, but I wouldn't want to do that. I think it sort of takes away from the integrity of the room itself. So I do have some images on the rail atop, but a lot of posters I have just here in rolls. There are definitely treasures here that I've long since forgotten about. Alison, one of the things about this Wunderkammer, this cabinet of curiosities that is my home, is that it's filled not only with artwork, not only with tchotchkes, but it's highbrow and it's lowbrow, and it's really whatever appeals to me, and there is no rhyme or reason other than that. And maybe the finest example of that would be the poo emoji pillow, which I keep on my leather couch simply because, well, who doesn't need a poo emoji pillow, really? One of the favorite pieces I have here is sort of front and center on top of the mantle, which is the turn-of-the-century poster for Console, the performing monkey. A lot of people look at that poster and they think maybe it's a bicycle advertisement, but it's not. Console was one of the most popular and most well-beloved performing monkeys in Germany, in Berlin, in the years before the First World War. And I've always loved this poster. I mean, it's a monkey in a plaid suit and like a British cap. What about that wouldn't I love? And during the shutdown, the early days of the shutdown, when people in the vintage poster community were trying to occupy ourselves, we played this online game of poster pantomime, where we dressed up as our favorite posters, putting the picture of the poster and the picture of us dressed as the subject of the poster side by side, and we posted it online. And you'll see, I think I sort of hit this one smack on. Everything that's in here caught my fancy at one point or another, whether it's my actual favorite or not. Everything is here specifically to make me happy. The fireplace doesn't work, and that's totally fine. I wish it did, but I understand having fires in a New York apartment is not great. So I had to figure out what to do with the space that was the fireplace, and after some deliberation and many different ideas, I came up with this sort of spray of flowers, artificial flowers, and I found a beautiful stag head to put in there, and then these great, almost Game of Thrones andirons. Among the different museum domes here, you see all of the different composers, or 6 different composers in miniature bust. And you know, one of the things that I like to do is sort of repurpose things in an unexpected way. So I use the gumball machine to hold a matchbook collection. Down here beneath the sextant, which I would never know how to use in a million years of Sundays, is a Canterbury, which is an old newspaper or magazine rack, and I use it now as one of my several bars in here. One of my other favorite pieces is the portrait I have of Tilda, painted by a colleague of mine, Jennifer Gennari, who, in my opinion, is the greatest living animal portrait artist out there. And I was very lucky to be able to work with her. She used Tilda as the subject for a how to paint animals online tutorial. And in return for lending her my dog, I got this phenomenal portrait of Tilda as a puppy. The apartment that I used to live in fact, the apartment that I lived in for 19 years before I moved in here about 6 years ago, was a small, dark, loud one-bedroom. And I had one window with a tiny little sliver of light, and I desperately tried to grow a small plant there, and it didn't work. And one of the things I was looking for in a new apartment when I was seeking to move was an apartment that had enough light that I could grow plants. And I don't think I realized that I would end up with so much light, but knowing me now as you do, it may not be a surprise that I've ended up with so many plants. And I think by last count, I may have 60 different plants and 2 or 3 different trees. This is my indoor garden, and I look after these on a weekly basis. It takes probably between 45 minutes and an hour each week to water all of them. There's more in the kitchen. There's just a lot happening here. There's some air plants that are hanging from the surgical lamp. There's some ivy that's twined around the telescope. In the windowsill, you'll see various vessels filled with plants. You'll actually see a trumpet there. My original plan was to put a plant into the bell of the trumpet. I haven't gotten there yet. But you will see my bird cage. Talk about repurposing items. I thought I was very clever putting a plant in a bird cage, and it's great. Again, in the world of tableaus, different things have begun to appear in flower pots. I have some small busts that are showing up along with a zebra pot, but I do especially love, there's 2 planters that are heads. When I first found those years ago, they're very common, I know now, but I was so excited to think what a great idea it was. And people always have these in their gardens, but I'm going to have them in my home. Hurrah, like doing everything on the inside that I should be doing on the outside. So one of the reasons that I can grow so many plants and keep them healthy, it's not because I'm a great gardener. There's no green thumbs here at all. It's because there is so much light pouring through this window. This is a 15-foot high window, a 15-foot high north-facing window with light coming flooding in during the day, and it's indirect light. It's not direct sunlight. This apartment was built as an artist's studio, and the idea was that an artist would be up here by day with their back to the window, and the light coming in would illuminate their canvas, and they would paint all day until the sun went down, and then their work was done. For me, it's basically an internal greenhouse, and I have my plants and my trees and my ivy. I think part of this was inspired by where the wild things are. Doesn't Max's room just turn into a jungle? And I was like, that's great. So when outfitting this place, with my original idea that it reminded me of baronial hall, I was like, what can I get that would fit into a baronial hall? And it occurred to me that a suit of armor is in every stately English house, so I needed to find a suit of armor. And luckily, at an auction house in New Jersey, I found this replica of a suit of armor, which didn't cost me the $40,000 or $50,000 that a real suit would cost. But it fits in here so perfectly. He has his floral wreath from the Festival of Flowers in San Antonio that I picked up a few years ago. And he's here taking care of the place along with me on a daily basis. He is no help at all when it comes to watering the plants, but he is a steadfast companion.
And he has little mice at his feet.
Yeah, so the little mice come from the same company that did the monkey lamp. And again, was I looking for mice lights? No, but I saw them and I was like, oh my God, they're gonna fit in here so perfectly. And then I had to find a place to put them, and I was like, I'm gonna put them at the knight's feet. Another tableau is this ladder, which is becoming just magnificently overgrown with the ivy. Ladders are really shelves when you repurpose them. And I've used this old ladder, which I got at a flea market, as a shelf, and I've put my bust of JFK, there's a Shakespeare head pot, I have all of my old military helmets, a palmistry hand. So let me show you the rest of the apartment, but before we go, just in case you're wondering what's behind the curtain, I just wanted the big reveal here. This is one of several closets that I have, and it's where I keep the tweeds and the window panes and the tartan suits. I have upwards of 30 different suits, and it's like my one sort of crazy luxury. Oh, that's a lie. I have a lot of crazy luxuries, but it's one of my crazy luxuries. I collect posters, and I work with posters, and specifically I collect, along with my father, vintage posters from Czechoslovakia, which was the country of his birth, and where I lived for many years. But in this apartment, there's really not a whole lot of wall space, so this hallway has become somewhat of a gallery, and it's the Czech gallery here, and I have Czech posters and Czech art all along this wall, including a great poster from the 1930s for Yawa motorcycles, and this great poster for an advertising ball, which is just super. It's just nice for me to have this sort of cultural and genetic touchstone to not only my family's history, but the things that I collect. So this is the bedroom, and in a way it's very similar to the rest of the house. It's completely full. I share this room with my dog. I think I'm especially proud of this. I made this during the pandemic, during the first week of the pandemic. It's a string with tiny little clothespins, and I use it to hang my pocket squares. So it's a pocket square tree.
If you were at a garage sale and you were digging, what would you be the most excited to find?
I think the thing I'd be most excited to find is the thing I didn't know that I wanted, that I thought would look perfect somewhere in this house, whether it was a little robot to go on the mantle, whether it was a little mouse to go with the other mice, whether it was a picture or a postcard that somehow spoke to me. I don't know what I'm looking for, but it's something that would catch my eye and would appeal to me, and that's what I think I'm always looking for. There's a store in New York called Fish's Eddy, where they do a lot of leftover porcelain and ceramic material, mostly plates and saucers and cups. But years and years ago, I went in there, and they had this porcelain egg crate, and I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. I can use it to put something in. So I got it, and I didn't know what to put in it, but now it's sort of home to cufflinks and jewelry and watch chains and knickknacks. So it's like great. It's like 12 different compartments for little things. I can put them in, and it's fabulous. In 1968, Salvador Dali did this memorable ad campaign for Lanvin chocolate Lanvin, in which he bites into a piece of chocolate, his mustache springs up and then springs down, and he goes, "Je suis fou pour chocolat Lanvin." I'm crazy for Lanvin chocolate. And obviously, as a man with a mustache who's frequently compared to Salvador Dali, I found this image irresistible. And arguably, it's one of the greatest mustache posters of all time. Really, something it just makes me smile every time I walk past it. I'm born and raised on the island of Manhattan, and when I first walked into this magnificent apartment, I knew it was the place that I wanted to live. And that sentiment was actually backed up by my mother. The first time she came to visit, before I moved in, I was proud to show her where I was moving to, and she came in and she looked around and she said, "You were born to live here." And I really took that to heart. It was great. And I love living here, and I hope to live here for as long as I can.
Click here to watch another amazing home tour and be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy.